Well, hello again. It's the 1st of June 2025. It's actually 8:34 in the morning, so I've got some stuff to do today, so I thought I'd get this out of the way early on. If anything else comes to light during the day, it's actually a long weekend here, public holiday Monday as well, or tomorrow. Maybe I'll do another video depending on how much time I get and how worthy of a video I think it might be. So, what do we have? Oh, actually, let's just set the timer. There we go. What do we have? All of the self-appointed, self-reinforcing, self-aggrandizing UAP experts are meeting out in the desert. It's time for Contact in the Desert 2025, and it's only $600 to $900 a ticket. You know, if you want to go for the whole 5 days, it goes for 5 days. This is the last couple of days. I had a quick look at the people presenting. Some of the usual suspects are there. I didn't see Elizondo or Grush on the list, but there are a couple of panel things that they may be involved with. Danny Sheehan, of course, is there. Steve Batshit is there, promoting their respective institutes, paradigm institutes, be it new, old, or in between. So no doubt, I didn't see Jake Barber on the talk list either. Psionics is mentioned, but if Jake Barber's going to be there, then his gay left-handed psionic telepathy merchants will be there as well. The gay left-handed psionic summoners. So there's going to be lots and lots of contact in the desert, I suspect. Probably not the sort of contact that would interest most of us. So, contact in the desert, yeah. Not left-handed by any chance, are you, old chap? So anyway, they can tell their ridiculous science fiction stories to each other and be heaped in praise, slapped on the back, and applauded by everyone else who's in on the act, and of course the gullible who will be forking out the $600 to $900 to go and listen to all this absolute bullshit for a few days. You know, the people that are there, the same old names are coming up, Linda Moulton Howe, ridiculous nonsense, Dolan, yeah. So, you've got people like, I think Kremlin Jones has gone, but then he's someone that seriously believes the Queen of England was a shape-shifting lizard from outer space. These are the sort of people, this is the gullibility level we're talking about, of the people that will pay that kind of money to go out in the desert in California, I think it is, and listen to these piffle-peddlers, these complete and utter bullshitters. The whole thing, from what I can see, is a steaming pile of bullshit. I was very surprised to see that Avi Loeb would give his time to this. And Josh Gates, Expedition Unknown. I quite like Josh Gates and the stuff he does. So why those two would go there, who knows? Maybe it's a very well-paid gig, I mean, Danny Sheehan was given a pile of money, apparently, wasn't he, not that long ago? So he may be able to afford big fees for these people to go along and give their talks. Avi Loeb, I think, would be worth listening to. Josh Gates is always entertaining. The rest of them, just put a line through it. It's just complete and utter rubbish. I saw Thomas Jane, the actor, was there as well. I thought, I've got no idea what Thomas Jane is doing there. He's a good actor though, Thomas Jane. I quite like Thomas Jane. Saw him in this Private Eye thing set in outback Australia somewhere. It was actually filmed, I think, close to Mackay, so it wasn't really in the outback, but or in tropical Queensland. No, it wouldn't be. be well below the tropic line, I think, where they filmed it. It's a lot more comfortable outside of the tropics. Having been there, I can tell you that from personal experience. I just haven't seen photos of the artist impressions of the tropics. Oh dear. So actually, yeah, there was a particular scene that I do remember with Thomas Jane. I'm pretty sure it was Thomas Jane, and it was from the movie The Predator. And he was indicating to Olivia Munn that he was feeling a little peckish. Anyway, so I think the only reason that Avi Loeb and Josh Gates would have anything to do with this bullshit fest is that there's probably a good fee involved. To be perfectly honest, you couldn't pay me enough money to go to California and sit in that bullshit fest for 5 days. Not even for 5 minutes. I wouldn't give those bullshitting clowns the time of day. I really wouldn't. I think that nonsense would offend the intelligence of a cheese and pickle sandwich. The sort of stuff that's presented there. So, I don't know, as I said, I don't know if Jake Barber's going to be there, but he's now claiming there are structures on the dark side of the moon. Now, I'm assuming one or more of his remote viewers has told him this. I very much doubt he's been there. Of course, there's no such thing as remote viewing, psionics, it's all drivel. Yeah, I mean, Skywatcher, the Skywatcher crew. Oh yeah, one of his crew. Yeah, one of his Skywatcher crew. I can't remember this guy's name, but he's being interviewed, and he said they summoned 200 UAPs, UFOs, swarms of them. You know, they all came down, putting on a bit of a show for them, and they went back up. You know, all but 3. So he did well, really. You know, he counted 200 of them, and you could tell that there was 3 less climbing back out after they disappeared behind a hill. You know, crest, the hill on the horizon. It's never close, it's never nearby, you can never tap on these things. So they went looking for them. They thought the 3 had crashed on the other side of the hill, and of course there was nothing there. Building a new house over the way there. They're up early. So, you know, they summoned these, and so they went looking for these things, and they couldn't find them. You know, they assumed they'd crashed. I think there's a lot of assumptions in this game, isn't there, really? But they assumed they crashed and found nothing. Well, you could knock me down with a feather. Who would have believed that? Barber's team has also seemed to have found a new hobby. They've taken up ornithology. If you've seen the latest stuff coming from the Skywatcher crew, well, they've taken to taking video of flocks of birds, and of course they make them slightly out of focus so that they can say these are actually squadrons of UAPs. You know, they come all the way across the galaxy and they're flying around in front of the Skywatcher crew. You know, in a V formation. You know, the leader goes off and they all go around like that. You know, just exactly like a flock of birds. Now, isn't that spooky? Isn't it? Really, it's almost as if the aliens have been studying terrestrial flocks of birds and how they fly around as a flock, and they've decided to mimic that precisely. So yeah, and of course they're always out of focus, so you can't see that they're flapping. You know, that'd be a bit of a giveaway, wouldn't it? You know, alien spacecraft unlikely to flap. So you know, they're trying to peddle this as UAPs, ETs, and it's at best pathetic drivel. Pathetic drivel. Okay, what else we got? Ross Coulthart is going to contact in the desert. He's sidling around those members of Barber's team. Back to the wall. Well, I'm assuming. Might be his cup of tea, who knows. Now, Ross Coulthart tells us terrible weapons are being engineered by reverse engineering alien tech. He knows as fact that Lockheed Martin and Grumman and people like that have recovered alien spacecraft. He knows that as fact because he's been told. He's never seen any of this stuff. You know, he's never been invited to go along. Probably Hal Puthoff again and Eric Davis. Oh, persevere. I thought they're not going to be doing anything with it on Sunday morning at 8:45. How wrong was I? So, you know, Hal Puthoff, I suspect, and Eric Davis are at the bottom of this complete and utter bullshit, as always. How do we know that no one's engineering these terrible weapons from recovered ET tech? Well, because it would be the best deterrent on the face of the earth, wouldn't it? You know, if they have one of those, no one's going to mess with them. You know, there's no point having a super weapon if you keep it a secret. For it to be any kind of deterrent, everybody's got to know about it. Think about the movie Dr. Strangelove, you know, with the doomsday weapon. When President Mufti, or whatever his name is talking to the Russian ambassador, you know, and he says, well, why didn't you tell us about it? If you've got this thing, why didn't you tell this doomsday weapon? Why didn't you tell us about it? And he said, oh, we were going to announce it at the peace talks next month. Brilliant film. If you've never seen it, don't be put off by the fact it's in black and white. Dr. Strangelove. Now, so complete bullshit. No one's engineering anything from alien tech. There's no alien tech on Earth. It's complete and utter drivel. So, yeah, forget about... I mean, Ross Coulthart, he's a fanboy. He spruiks all this rubbish as though he knows as fact that it's true. You know, he's being told by people behind the scenes, you know, Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis, that it's all true. Same people all the time. And that semi-van, he was saying, oh yeah, you know, ex-CIA, yeah, I know, yeah, I know it's all going on. I've been told by Hal Puthoff, and I haven't seen it personally, you know, I haven't seen any of this ET tech personally, or these ET bodies. I've seen photographs. I say, oh, what did you see in the photographs, Mr. Semivan? And he goes, well, let's skip over that. Because he can't make up what he saw in the photographs at the spur of the moment, because he hasn't seen any photographs. It's bullshit, isn't it? You know? Because if he said, yeah, I saw this, then he would have to remember exactly what he said so that he could repeat it in future interviews. That's Semivan. There was a guy there called Lavender as well. I've never heard of this guy before. Something Lavender. Obviously, he's a plant in more ways than one, I suspect. So any kind of weapon engineered from recovered ET tech would make thermonuclear weapons look like a spud gun. If anyone's got any, if anyone's got one, they'd be screaming about it. We don't see any of this advanced tech used in any wars, do we? You know, I mean, this Ukraine business could be tidied up overnight if such weapons existed. You know, if the US and the UK had this stuff, they'd just give it to Zelensky and say, there you go, just knock yourself out and knock the Russians out while you're at it. We don't see that. So it's complete and utter rubbish. Coulthart is also desperate for the huge ET craft. This is the one that we think people are speculating might be in South Korea. You know, it crashed outside the US, you know, and he's desperate for this to be investigated. He really wants this looked into. Desperate to get it investigated. He's so desperate to get it investigated that he won't tell anyone where it is. And people believe this bullshit. You know, the sort of people that believe this bullshit are the sort of people that believe the Queen of England was a shape-shifting lizard from outer space. For goodness sake. Oh dear. So this is the one that was so big they had to put a building over it. You know, they're speculating that it's in South Korea. You know, this is more the dog ate my homework, you know, from Coulthart this time, and not Elizondo, Mellon and Grush, who ran away and hid under the table when Luna said, come to the skiff and tell us all about it. Arrow will be sitting there and they can check out what you're saying, you know, and verify it. Verify it? Shit. They're going to look into it. Oh. So then they had to tell Luna that they want Arrow defunded, you know, because Arrow's a disinformation thing, you know. We're not going to talk to you while Arrow's there, because they know full well Arrow will look into it and say, this is complete and utter bullshit. And I think Sean Fitzpatrick has made actually it's in here I think, made a statement recently about some of the things Luna's been saying. You know, and Ross Coulthart scoffs at the debunkers asking for evidence. Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? Says Mr. Coulthart in that silly voice. Rather unbecoming for a lawyer, don't you think? What's even more unbecoming for a lawyer is scoffing at the fact that anyone might require evidence or something. I don't know if he ever plays back some of his own interviews, but he doesn't look like a lawyer, put it that way. He looks more like a gullible fanboy than a lawyer. You know, lawyers are normally pretty smart. Lawyer that scoffs at people asking for evidence doesn't look very smart to me. So a lawyer that's not interested in providing evidence to prove their case, I suspect, is a pretty poor lawyer. Yes, it's almost as though Coulthart knows there's no tangible evidence. Of course he does. We all do. He says witness testimony is evidence. Well, people have been convicted on it. Well, witness testimony as evidence is usually corroborated by tangible evidence. You know, I saw that guy kill that guy, and there'll be a corpse there. You know, I saw that flying saucer. There's never a flying saucer in the corner that you can go and tap on, is there? This is the flying saucer I saw. You know, see the difference? In the real world, there's tangible evidence to put people in jail when witness testimony says that's the guy I saw do it. You know, there'll be DNA evidence. You know, they'll find the weapon in the boot of his car. There'll be other stuff. With UAPs, UFOs and ETs, there's never an ET over each shoulder with a selfie. You know, I'll see him every Wednesday. Tea and scones, you know. There's never any of that, is there? There's never anything you can physically touch. Yeah, so, you know, put a line through that. Witness testimony is not evidence. Anyone can make up science fiction stories. Coulthart, of all people, being a lawyer, should know that. How many people go into court of law, put their hand on the Bible, swear to tell the truth by Almighty God, and then lie through their teeth for the whole hearing, the whole proceedings? Yeah, so what else have we got? Yeah, there's no technological or biological tangible evidence of ET ever being here. Yep. How have we done that? Okay, I've jumped ahead a page here because I remembered what I wrote, surprisingly. Yeah, you know, testimony from fake whistleblowers is science fiction rubbish. You know, they run away and hide from Arrow, from anyone that can verify it. Put a line through these fake whistleblowers. All of them. Pardon me. Now, just getting back to this crashed spacecraft, ET spacecraft that Coulthart tells us. He knows exactly where it is, but he's not going to tell us. Pardon me. Now, it's speculated that this thing's in South Korea. Now, if you look at it on Google Earth, it's a circular building. I haven't actually looked at it on Google Earth myself, because no one's saying this is definitely it. It's only speculation, you know. But I mean, if I looked at it on Google Earth, I'd do some measurements, you know, and see how big it actually is. But you know, it's a circular building. So, whose brains trust thought of hiding a flying saucer with a circular building? And masterful, absolutely masterful. Eh? And how big, how much room between the edge of the circular saucer and the edge of the circular building is there? You've got to go along the walls like that with your spanners. Couldn't they have made it 2 metres bigger, you know? It's rubbish, isn't it? I mean, how many people... if you think about it, you know, I mean, what a disguise, you know, round a circular building over a circular flying saucer. I mean, the amount of people involved in constructing such a building, there'd be hundreds of people. You know, plumbers, electricians, security system installers, concreters, brickies, roofers, earthworks people. You know, hundreds of people would be involved in this, and they've got to tiptoe around an alien spacecraft while they're doing it. Now have a look at that image and think how much, if this is a huge alien spacecraft, it must be right up to the walls. So how would they be able to dig out, you know, they'd have to put foundations in the ground all the way around it, circular foundation, and then build the walls up and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, there's hundreds of people will be involved. Any one of whom would love to make millions of dollars and go down in history as with their name as the person that proved beyond any doubt that we are not alone in the universe. You know, how many of these electricians and plumbers and everything would want to give up the construction business for a huge pile of cash, global fame, and for their name to go down in the history books? I suspect all of them. I certainly would. So, you know, put a line through this building over a crashed alien spacecraft outside of the US, hogwash. Coulthart doesn't tell us where it is because he knows that we'll go there and we'll find that it's hogwash very quickly. You know, it's just drivel. So, I've said it before, put a line through Coulthart. He's got zero credibility, this guy. You know, he's a fanboy, he's got books to sell, he's got a book to sell. He's talking at this contract in the desert nonsense. He also tells us something's going to happen in 2027. Well, that's guaranteed, isn't it? You know, I mean, if I'm still around in 2027, I'll be getting in my car and driving it. So something's going to happen in 2027. Even if it's only me driving my car. And then he said, oh well, it might be 2034. I've heard 2034. He doesn't know if it's an alien invasion, pole reversal, or an asteroid hitting the planet. And there's rumours that there's this huge alien spacecraft that's on its way here. It's going to get here in 2027. No. It's all these things. Just relax and forget all about this bullshit. There always has to be a gap of some years between one of these events, these happening, and now where we are now. And that's because if you said it was going to happen next Wednesday would come and go, nothing would happen. Next month, come and go, nothing would happen. Push it away a couple of years, you can keep all these gullible bloody fanboys that are forking out this ridiculous amount of money for all these books and DVDs and going to see all these talks out for another couple of years. You know, they can guarantee an income from all this bullshit for another couple of years. You know, 2027 will come and go, nothing will happen. You know, it's like the Heaven's Gate thing. They thought it was a UFO following an asteroid, they'll kill themselves. So they thought they were going for a ride in space. Now, if anybody believes there's an alien spacecraft on its way here, and it's going to get here in 2027, leave a comment below. I've got a really good deal for you on a bridge, you know, with a couple of big towers in London. I'll do you a good price. No problem. You'll have to go and pick it up yourself, but I'll give you the bank account details you can put the 15 million quid into, okay? And that's cheap as chips for that bridge, I'm telling you. It's on heaps of postcards. So, you know, and then when nothing happens in 2027, they'll say, oh, well, you know, we did say it might be 2034. And then that will come round and it'll be 2054 and then 2084 and then 2115. It's all complete and utter bullshit. Relax. There's no alien invasion on its way. As I've said before, if aliens wanted this planet, they'd do it biologically. They spray something into the atmosphere. We'd never detect these drones coming here. Spray stuff into the atmosphere. Everybody will be dead within 3 days. We wouldn't even meet them. We'd have no idea what was going on. They'd quarantine the planet for a couple of years, move in, sweep up all the bones, and they'd have no nasty smells or anything to deal with because predators would have cleaned it all up. They'll just sweep up the bones and move in. There'd be no destroyed structures to deal with. If their physiology is similar to us, the structures might even be useful to them. Nuclear power stations are fail-safe. They'll just shut down on their own if they see conditions that require that. There's not going to be anything nasty to deal with. No, there might be a few plane crashes, I suppose, but all the biological nastiness will have been gone after a couple of years. So, you know, forget anything Travis Taylor may have about being an alien invasion expert. We can fight a guerrilla war with aliens. Yeah. How many alien invasions have you thwarted, Dr. Taylor? Well, there was yeah, I saw this Battle Los Angeles. I was a technical advisor for that. Oh dear. Anyway, don't worry about asteroids. You can get cream from the chemist shop for that. Pole reversal. What sort of pole reversal are we talking about? If we're talking about a magnetic pole reversal, it wouldn't have much of an effect on humans at all. All it would mean for me is that my compass would point south instead of north. Might upset the birds a bit. Barber would have to get his bird formations going the other way. Sky watchers. Ornithological exploits would have to be filmed from a different perspective, you know. But it's bullshit. None of it is going to happen. Put a line through it. It's drivel. So, Coulthart said it may be AI, you know, taking over the planet. I think he's probably seen the latest Mission Impossible movie, you know, with the entity taking over the world. That's probably where that's come from. And of course, AI won't be taking over the world. And I'll tell you why. Because we can just pull the plug out. Bye-bye AI. So forget about AI. Forget about AI taking over the world. Not going to happen. We can always pull the plug out. Sensationalistic drivel. Yeah, I think Ross Coulthart watches too many science fiction movies when he's not making them. So ET's not going to come here and fight us on our own terms. They wouldn't need to. We would never meet them. We would never see them. We would have no idea what was happening. Everyone would be dead in 3 days. that would be that. And that's how aliens would take the planet. You've got to bear in mind that if aliens are coming to take this planet from us, it's not going to be their first rodeo. They would have done this hundreds of times before, probably. So just put a line through alien invasion. If it happened at all, you wouldn't have to worry about it because you'd know nothing about it. Put a line through Travis Taylor. He's no alien invasion expert. Nobody is. You'd have to live through an alien invasion to be any kind of expert, wouldn't you? As far as I know, there's not been an alien invasion. I think I would have noticed that, don't you? You would too. So, oh, it's gone over. It's gone over half an hour. I'm going to have to join it up. Damn it. But still, I think it's, yeah, it's. I didn't do a video last week, so there's probably, you know, it's going to run out a little bit longer than it otherwise might. So, yeah, all this sensationalistic doomsday rubbish has to be years in the future. You know, they've got to string it out. They've got to keep people intrigued. They've got to keep people paying their money to listen to all this rubbish. Don't be fooled by it. They're all bullshitting clowns. People at this bullshit fest in the desert are going to be talking about remote viewing and psionics, you know. They're not going to be demonstrating. You know, remote view, any questions? Yeah, remote view the inside of my house and describe it exactly. Really. How many rooms, you know? How many bedrooms? How many floors? How many garages? How many vehicles are on the property? You know, well, it's a bit cloudy. You know, are you a remote viewer or are you some sort of psychic, mystic medium? You know, probably an extra large bullshitter. So, yeah, forget about all this sensationalistic rubbish. Now, yeah, Coulthart's famous for all this sensationalistic hogwash. I've said it before, put a line through Coulthart, you know. Zero credibility. Fanboy. Same with James Fox. Same with all of these names. It's just drivel. And if it's not drivel, prove it, you know. Put up or shut up. FFS. How long has this been going on? And all they do is give it a bit of that. Take my word for it, I've been told, I haven't seen it. Just ask Hal Putter, Eric Davis, who are now both saying they haven't seen it either. They've been told. As soon as there's a whiff of subpoena in the air. Well, what I meant was, you know, these guys have been saying it, so it must be true. No one that's telling any of these stories has got any personal experience of ET, technological or biological materials. They've all been told. They've all been told by the same core of people. Just like Sean Fitzpatrick said when Arrow looked into it. It's all science fiction bullshit. You know, it's propagated by a core of people, the same core of people, science fiction bullshitters, that have been pushing it for years, if not decades. Coulthart tells us everyone is telling him we're on borrowed time. Well, it can't be everyone, because I don't remember telling Coulthart that we're on borrowed time. Do you? They can't give specifics, of course, because of their national security oaths. So I know the world's going to end next Wednesday afternoon. Sorry, I'm using a bit of Australian there. Took me years to learn the language after emigrating here. I did put the effort in. I did learn Australian after a year or two. Ours and chooks. That's chickens in the afternoon. So, so these people are saying the world's going to end next Wednesday. They know the world's going to end next Wednesday afternoon, but they can't tell anybody because of their NDAs, because of their security oaths. Now, If the world's going to end in a week, what difference does it make? You know, these people are as dumb as a box of hammers. I mean, they must think that maybe their fan base is as dumb as a box of hammers. But nobody with an IQ bigger than their shoe size or an ounce of critical thinking ability is going to believe that. You know, if you know the world is going to end, you would have absolutely nothing whatsoever to lose by going to a TV program like 60 Minutes. You know, and just saying, look, this is what's going to happen. No one would believe it, so there wouldn't be mass panic and stock market crash. But I mean, if the world was going to end next week, what difference would that make, really? You know, people would be killing each other for a can of baked beans. You know, and the way things were last time, probably killing each other for a box of toilet rolls. As if it's going to matter if you smell bad if the world is going to end tomorrow, next Wednesday. There's plenty of grass around, you know, do what dogs do. Just wipe your backside along the grass. FFS. So forget about all this, you know, he's been told we're on borrowed time by people that can't give him specifics because of their NDAs and their security oaths. It's complete and utter bullshit. And the people that are telling him this are going to be the usual clowns in the background, you know, from bloody ATIP and ORSAP. You know, people that believe in werewolves, you know. Will tell you they were chased home by a werewolf. Wolverine werewolf from Skinwalker Ranch. You know, we're on borrowed time, I'm telling you. Any of these people selling up and going on world holidays, cruises, and all this sort of stuff, you know? Or are they continuing to pay their mortgages, are they? Buying new cars, possibly? Put a line through it. Don't worry about it. It's drivel. So, you know, how dumb would you have to be to even consider this might be true? The sort of people that would consider, might consider this is true are people like Kremlin Jones, who believes the Queen of England was a shape-shifting lizard from outer space. You know, this is the gullibility level we're talking about. Oh, here's my, you know, $600. Here's my $900. Please tell me more bullshit. You know, I just lap up all this science fiction bullshit. I love it. They're the sort of people that this contact in the desert drivel it is catering for. So cool. Pardon me, Coulthart soaks up all this science fiction rubbish and repeats it as truth. Said it before, put a line through Coulthart. Don't waste your time with anything that man has to say. So Luna is asking for Arrow to be defunded. This is going to be due to, remember Mellon, Elizondo and Grush all ran away and hid under the table when she said, come in and we'll have a skiff and you can tell us all you have, you're desperate to tell us all you know about this and you can tell us in front of representatives from Arrow. And they all said, oh God, you know, I've got a sore throat, I can't go, you know. All called in sick, not one of them attended. The dog ate my homework. Now if that doesn't stick up enough red flags to let even the most gullible half-wit know it's all science fiction rubbish, then nothing will. They've said to Luna they're not going to talk to Arrow. That's because Arrow will check out what they've got to say and reveal it to be science fiction rubbish very quickly. And now they're saying to Luna, we'll tell you everything, but we're not in front of Arrow. You know, defund Arrow, get rid of it, get it. You know, all these UFO fanboys were screaming for years for something like Arrow to be set up to look into this, and because Arrow's finding nothing, Arrow's finding it's all science fiction rubbish repeated by a core of science fiction piffle-peddlers. That's not what they want to hear. Now they want Arrow out of the picture. Arrow's not saying it's all real. Get rid of Arrow. Well, we go back to the piffle-peddlers and the bullshitters because they're all saying, yeah, it's all real, it's happening, you know. Anyone with a bit of critical thinking ability, anyone with an IQ bigger than their bloody shoe size, should be able to recognise what's going on with this subject. So they want Arrow out of the picture. They don't want an official voice saying it's all science fiction rubbish. They want to keep peddling all this science fiction rubbish. They want to keep selling their tickets, selling to these stupid conferences, you know, funding their ridiculous institutes, their ridiculous foundations. Keep the money coming in, you know, so they can sit back and do FA. Produce a white paper every now and then so it looks like they're doing something with all the money they're being sent. White papers that will never be applicable to anything because ET's not coming here. ET never has been here. We don't even know that interstellar travel with a crewed vehicle with a crew on it is possible. If it's impossible now, it might be impossible in 1,000 years or 10,000 years. So really, you know, these people are a complete and utter waste of time. If they knew what they were saying was true, they would be falling over themselves to get to Arrow, to get their story verified. You know, they wouldn't be running away and hiding under the table. They're doing that because they know there's nothing to it. They know it's science fiction rubbish. I think that should be obvious to anybody, to be perfectly honest. Sean Kirkpatrick, when he heard about So the bullshitters, the science fiction bullshitters, Grush and Mellon and Elizondo and the usual suspects, are convinced Luna that it's a good idea to defund Arrow, and now apparently she's asking for Arrow to be defunded. And Sean Kirkpatrick, you know, the previous director of Arrow, heard about that, and he made a statement saying Luna's continued conspiracy mongering is matched only by her ignorance. She'll defund anyone who tells the truth. That was a quote from Sean Kirkpatrick. So Sean Kirkpatrick knows it's all rubbish. John Kozlowski will know it's all rubbish. Everybody in Arrow will know it's all rubbish. That's why these people won't go near Arrow. You know, Bob Lazar won't go near Arrow. Grush runs away, hides under the table. They asked him numerous occasions to go and talk to them, and he didn't. They said, OK, we'll come to you. Made an appointment, and he didn't turn up. Just like he didn't turn up for Luna's skiff. You know, just like Mellon and Elizondo, they really want to get all this out, want to tell everybody everything, you know, but they didn't go. They had something, they didn't feel well, you know. The dog ate their homework. Absolutely bloody pathetic. I can't even watch these guys anymore. You know, I see Elizondo's mug come on the TV, on the YouTube thing, and I go, next video, please. Complete waste of time. It's really hard to believe that, you know, Luna can't see through those charlatans. You know, why? She's a congresswoman, and you'd think they'd be reasonably smart. You know, you'd think if she would think there's something very fishy going on here. You know, they've been saying they'll tell me everything I want to know as long as I arrange a skiff. Arranges a skiff. They're all sick. They're all calling in sick. You would think it would occur to Luna that it's all bullshit. Why would she think? What? If that was me, I'd say I'm not wasting any more of my time with these charlatans. It's obviously all bullshit, you know. I've gone through all this trouble, I've organised a skiff, I've got Arrow coming along, and they're all sick. Charlatans, science fiction bullshit, new business. Let's get back to JFK or MLK or whatever. New business. Next caller, please. Doesn't bode well, I think, that, you know, you've got Burchett believes in demons, thinks these ETs might be demons. Got the other senior Pentagon guy, Stratton, tells us he was followed home by a Wolverine werewolf from Skinwalker Ranch. FFS. Where do they get these people? course, he's got a book telling everyone all about it, you know. Don't waste your money. It's like Philip Corso's drivel. You know, these senior government officials live in cloud cuckoo land. I'm surprised the US is doing as well as it is. Now, I saw a guy that I'd never heard of or seen before being interviewed. Can't remember his name. He looks a lot like Pinocchio, you know. Appropriately enough. He tells us he was given amazing abilities by ETs. And that the University of California at Berkeley wanted him to go in for a couple of weeks and be tested. Now, he then goes off on a tangent and tells us what some of these abilities are, but he doesn't tell us that he actually went along to be tested, and I suspect that's because he didn't. You know, he's psychic. He can look through you just like an X-ray would. He can look right through you. Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Pinocchio, I can look right through you. And I don't believe a word of it. I think you're another bullshitter. Science fiction hogwash. Needless to say, he didn't, during the interview, he didn't demonstrate any of these abilities. I mean, if he can look through someone like an X-ray, the interviewer could be sitting there and he could have, I don't know, he could have a couple of things in his pockets, couldn't he? Paper clips. You know, USB stick, anything like that. And he could have just said to him, okay, just look through me, tell me what I've got in my pockets. And that never happened. There was no demonstration of these X-ray abilities. You know, where did they come from? Superman? Was it X-ray lines? All of this stuff comes from science fiction. You know, most of this stuff comes from the X-Files. So, not demonstrated. Forget about Mr. Pinocchio. Now, the last but not least, excuse me, would aliens draw crop circles? Would aliens fly across the galaxy and leave us a message by drawing a circle, drawing a pattern in a field, wheat field, whatever? Of course not. And the reason for that is that it's too ambiguous. You know, we don't know if it's aliens or if it's the local crop circle club from the local pub. Of course it's going to be the latter, because aliens would not do that. If aliens wanted to leave us a message, it would be unambiguous. They would know that we have radio telescopes around the place. Excuse me. They would know we've got radio telescopes around the place, and they would be able to tell what frequencies they operate on very easily. So they would communicate. They would communicate with us far enough away from the planet that, and they'd beam signals at maybe 2 or 3 radio telescopes dotted around the world. So it could be verified that this was coming from a point in space, you know, orbiting just outside of where the equatorial Clark Belt satellites are, you know, the geostationary satellites. Park it on the other side of that, you know, just beam a signal down. Hey guys, how you going? You know, there'll be no ambiguity. It will be coming from a point in space, and then you could go from there. You could go on to get evidence that it's actually aliens. You could say, okay, well, we're not going to attack you, and they'd probably laugh at that anyway. You know, you can come in and land at this particular place. There would be no ambiguity that aliens were involved. They wouldn't waste their time flying across the galaxy and drawing patterns in fields. It's complete and utter drivel. Ambiguity. There's always another possibility. The local crop circle club from the pub. Radio telescopes, getting a signal coming from a point in space, no ambiguity. That's what aliens would do. So, I think so I think that's about it. So forget crop circles, or more appropriately crap circles. They're a complete and utter waste of time. Don't waste your time on crop circles. Not aliens. Complete and utter bullshit. Well, I think it's gone for about 50 minutes, this one. But then I didn't do one last week. There wasn't much to report on. There's a bit of a flurry of activity this week. There's the Contact in the Desert twaddle. So there we go. And just as a matter of interest, it's the 1st of June today, which is the equivalent of the 1st of November in the UK. And it's going to get to 22 degrees centigrade today. I don't recall it ever being 22 degrees centigrade in November back in the UK. Because June, July, August is our winter. So that's the first day of winter in the UK. First day of November, December, January is winter, I think. Yeah, probably. I haven't been there for 30 years. Anyway, if you've struggled through the video all the way to this point, I hope you've found it amusing or interesting, or both. And as always, thanks for watching, and maybe I'll catch you again.